Broadcasting from an undisclosed location under a farm pond somewhere in the Midwest. Your host is Jim Crowley. This is Slickfish Radio.
And just like that, we are back with another edition of Slickfish Radio. Thank you for all of you that are joining us tonight live on Facebook and YouTube, as well as later on when you see us on Roku, Fire TV, Amazon Music, iTunes, and Spotify. But the good thing for those of you joining us live tonight is that we're going to be doing a really, really cool giveaway along with having a great guest. We have B.A.S.S commentator, and he does so much more. Ronnie Moore is joining us tonight, and he'll be in here in a couple minutes. Love his commentary, love the board of knowledge, all that stuff. We're going to get into that stuff and talk with Ronnie Moore about that. For those of you tuning in now, questions, comments, put them up on the screen. Let us know you are here tonight. We are giving away from Dakota Lithium. Check that out. A Dakota Lithium Power Box 10. We are giving that away tonight. Wow, a bunch of you just jumped on, so I'm going to show you that. We are giving you that away tonight, so stay tuned, because after the mid-break in the show, we're going to ask you a question. You're going to be going to the Dakota Lithium website. And look at that, my beautiful wife watching from upstairs. Now I know where she's at. That's good. So my wife is watching from upstairs. She's always one of the first ones to comment, and she's baking. If you guys could smell what the studio smells like in this house right now, oh my goodness, she's always baking. Mark Dyer just time. Mark, how the heck are you, man? Glad to have you on tonight. And all of you that are joining us, thank you so much for that. So fun stuff tonight. Ronnie Moore on here. We're going to have some fun. Turns out Lee Kerr is just here. There's Big City himself. Lee, how are you? Yeah, Ronnie is with us tonight. And despite of him investigating the show and knowing some of the same people that I do, he still came on. You got to give him credit for that. He's still here. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to go a little bit behind the scenes with B.A.S.S and how much. Oh, and there's Craig Claus. Craig coming in from Florida. Craig, how the heck are you, buddy? Glad to have you here. So yeah, and all of you chiming in. Look at that's like 3-4 states already. Thank you. God, I love you people. God bless you as always for joining with us tonight. I want to thank our sponsors, first and foremost, American Tackle Company. We're probably going to have some announcements coming from them in a couple weeks. Always big things now that they are part of Foundation Outdoor Group. That'll be cool. Our friends at Explore Lacrosse. Hey, the colors are changing there. What a beautiful place to be. I was just in Shields last week. If you are in the Springfield area, if you want to do something for fall and you want to get out of the weather when it gets colder, get to Shields with the big Ferris wheel inside with the saltwater aquarium. Tons of sales going on right now with Shields. Anything in the outdoors. I don't care if it's football, baseball, basketball, fishing, hunting, throwing darts, riding a bike. If you're going to go anywhere for the best in deals and the best in service. No kidding. It's Shields. Check out Shields. Our friends at Cask King. I'm going to be putting some new stuff up on the next couple podcasts that we have next month that Cask King has on their site, that you get some of the new tackle buckets, some of the new tools. There are, as always, more affordable innovation always coming from Cask King. So we are thrilled to be a part of them. We're going to have a great season going into 2024 with the third season of Jim Crowley Outdoors and Wired to Fish TV. Looking forward to all the stuff that Cask King, we're going to be able to show you some really, really cool stuff. Dakota Lithium. Big news from Dakota Lithium tonight. If you're just joining us right now, chime in. Questions, comments, whatever. Say hi. We're going to have a question here after the mid-break where you're going to go to Dakota Lithium. You are going to win that power box. Also, some of you have emailed me and you said, hey, I'm interested in Dakota Lithium batteries. Is there a sale going on? I'm going to tell you this. At the end of this or tonight, I'm going to give you a discount code that you can use from here on going forward for Dakota Lithium batteries. You want the best in power? You want an 11-year warranty? You want the company that stood behind the industry more than anybody else at this point, and we're the first ones to do it. It's the batteries that I use, Dakota Lithium. And we're going to have a discount code for all of you that you can use after this. So without any more of me talking, well, I'm going to be talking some. But I'm going to bring in our guest, Ronnie Moore. Welcome, Ronnie. How are you?
I'm good. You caught me texting. My dad always wants to know when I'm live or when I'm doing stuff, so I got to send him a link so he can watch us and provide all the awful stories that you want to uncover.
I'm just glad that you were able to join us tonight, and thanks for being here. And like I said, we know some people in common, and we talked about him. I got to give a little shout out to Luke Stoner. I've known him for since he wasn't very tall. That's a long I've been around, but Luke is just a great guy. And did you guys, before we get into more of the stuff, I mean, you started on the college levels. This is where you were competing on those levels. And I know you met some of those guys out there now, I'm guessing, including Luke. And how did you just let us know, how did this evolve to, I mean, you're working for one of the best companies out there now and get to have a great time with some great guys giving us great information. How did all this start?
Well, to go to the Luke topic, Luke, we kind of have a similar path. We didn't necessarily fish maybe the same exact college tournaments because he was in Illinois and I was in North Carolina, where sometimes different regions and regionals, but we kind of I think he's like a year or two older than me, so he was entering the work field and interning Wired to Fish. Now he's with Dynamic and all of those great assets they do for the fishing industry. So we kind of overlap there, but college fishing was really where I got my start. And you say, how does it go from just being a college angler to working my dream gig? It's an absolutely incredible story of how small our industry is, but how kind of being ready, not knowing who is watching and making sure you're always presentable to the best of your ability, just in case somebody's watching.
Yes.
That was something that for me was very crucial. I went to East Carolina University, ECU for short. We're like the only college or university that has East in the name. Everything else is like Eastern Washington, Eastern Illinois, or East Carolina, even though football commentators like to say Eastern Carolina. We are East Carolina. So I went to ECU. They had a fishing team there, and I went with the intention of being on the fishing team, but also because they had communications with a focus in journalism. So I wanted to do this. I wanted to do journalism. I really, my first dream career was to be a statistician in the NBA. I love basketball. I played high school basketball. So I was a big stat guy, could recall numbers really quickly, remember history, things like that. That's obviously worked out well for the fishing industry.
Yes.
So I wanted to do basketball, but then when I broke my ankle playing high school basketball, my last year, I really just went all in on fishing and with media. And so I shot all of the football games, basketball games that I could for the local news station, and I fished a bunch. So I went to ECU, journalism degree. And during that time of college fishing and going to school and working for the athletics programs and different news entities around college, speaking well on stage, making blog posts, taking selfies when no one else was to send to the Bassmaster blog, doing the recap videos via GoPros. Those were the things that I was doing to try to get my name out there, not with the intention of getting noticed to get a job, but just like, hey, if it's a free platform, Bassmaster.com is the platform I want to be on as an angler. So I'll just take an extra, bit of time and make this content. And then one big factor was on stage. If I had 3 pounds or if I had 20 pounds, you really couldn't tell the difference because I was trying to be positive. I was always trying to, in fishing, that's the deal. Like, you could hero one day and zero the next. So there's some humility to that and unknown. And then you can zero one day and know that you can turn it all around and your dreams are with 5 of the right bass. Shoot, with 5 possible casts left in your day, you can go from 0 to the winning stringer of fish. So I was always just optimistic, and I think that represented well. And then one day, middle of my junior year, 2014, Shea Baker texts me and asks if I would like to help do bass track on the Elite Series and the Classic. And I first thing I did was go to my teachers and had like a history class. And I was like, sir, I love history. I would love it to be an elective, an extra class for me. I know attendance is tricky for you. Will you allow, this is a part of my major. Like, this is I have a career waiting for me and I'm not quite done with school yet. How's this going to work? And he's like, attendance is mandatory. Your grade's going to suffer if you miss. And I was like, well, my grade's not going to suffer because I'm dropping your class. So I dropped the class and then did online from there on out to try to be able to travel and do it. And so getting my foot in the door for the 2014 season, I said yes to the opportunity before like a month before the Classic. Back then it was before the Elite started. So that's how it all happened. I mean, I was a junior in college and got the opportunity.
That's so
I
cool.
said yes. I contemplated dropping out of college just to keep my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And then I could all back to school, but we made it work and graduated on time, fully, and was able to just say bye to school. Don't want to go back there and do that again.
You know what? Yeah, no, I was, unfortunately, I spent a lot of time fishing and probably other things that I probably shouldn't have been doing when I was in college. So a lot of my report cards look like vitamin deficiencies, right? So, but it's funny that you said, you know, when you broke your ankle, and I have a feeling you believe the same thing I do, that God has a path he wants us to go. And sometimes there has to be a direct stop for a change of direction.
Yeah. And 16, 17, 18-year-old Ronnie, 27-year-old Ronnie didn't understand that. 30-year-old Ronnie understands it a little more. I can see it coming when a blessing's on the way, but you can't see it because it's too dark to tell. So no, that was a huge portion of my life. I mean, it was the final day of tryouts. I'd played 3 straight years, my freshman, sophomore, junior year. All the homies, you know, it's our senior year. And I actually, you know, a guy wants to take me one-on-one. I block his shot and land on his foot, and I see the bottom of my shoe and my ankle goes pop. And you know, I like partially tore a ligament, broke a piece off that, you know, that the ball on the side of your ankle that you always hit on like a table and it hurts. Well,
yes,
I chipped off a bone when my Achilles, or when my ligament bent all the way over, broke off a piece of it. And so I was in a boot. And then I covered football on the sidelines, you know, for the news station. God definitely had me, you know, he said, "Hey, Ronnie, I was going to tell you at the end of the year anyways, you weren't going to play college basketball, but I just tell you before the year started, like, hey, you're not going to play college basketball. Go do something else." So it allowed me a lot more time. I had already had a passion for fishing with my dad. I was his Fishers of Men team partner. And, you know, there's 50 boat tournaments and I'm the only kid in it. And I felt like I was holding our team back because everyone's an experienced, you know, dueling 40-year-old teammates that are very skilled. And I'm learning to fish as we're losing money in tournaments. And those guys, it's very cool to see those guys. They'd win a raffle Friday night's eating, and they'd walk by the table we're eating our dinner at, and they just drop off the bag of baits they won, or the crankbait to me, so I could, you know, have more baits to play with. And then I end up covering those guys later as they make championships from the Fishers of Men level to the nationals at Bassmount. You know, like thank you for giving me baits back in the day, or taking the time and making me a part of the boys. And look where it's gotten me. You know, everybody's had an impact on that for sure.
And I want to go back to something you said about, and for any of the kids that are young anglers that will watch this anymore, you made a very, very true statement. And at the Classic this year and at ICAST, I talked to a couple much younger anglers, and we were just talking about the industry and in general, because I've been around a while. And they said, "Well," and I go, you never know who's watching. You never have to worry about doing the right thing as long as you're doing the right thing. I don't believe in gray areas. I believe in right and wrong. And if you stay that way in this industry with integrity and honesty, that's not the cool thing to do nowadays in some cases. And I told him, I go, not in my book.
It's all about results these days, but those who finished 10th and you know they did it the right way, it goes far in your book for sure.
It does, and it's going to. And I go, and I'll give you an example of that. I was interviewing somebody a while back, and we were talking about the company, and he said, "I saw you back giving seminars at the old Chicago show." I'm like, "You look like you're 12 now. How old are you?" And he told me, he was like, "I was 18." And so now, I mean, we're talking about things. And the first time he saw me when he was 18, it is so important. I still do a lot of things the old-fashioned way, and it seems like you have done some of those too. I still like to talk to people in person. You still like to work with them. You don't have to worry about integrity if you have it. And when you do, and what would you say now that I just said all that? Would you agree with that? Because you have seen this on closer sides than a lot of people have, because you've seen the best at the best, and you've also probably seen the best at their worst and certain
Yeah.
things. And not mentioning any names, but would you say that what we were just discussing here is probably right on par?
Yeah, I think that, I'll even go back to the industry people. You say you don't know who's watching,
Right.
or could pick it up. Like Bill Carson, I don't know if he ever had a conversation with Bass, but like he's been there since the beginning. Supporting the college series since I was there in 2012, and he was the one who would always encourage, offer support and help. And now I can call him as a 30-year-old and like, "What's up, Bill?" And I'm like still probably like a son to him or something, because it's just age difference. But like, I am now trying to guidance to those kids when I was a kid just a little while ago, getting guidance from somebody like Bill in the industry,
Sure.
who's seen it all and done it all and worked, goes and rigs Kevin Van Dam's boat in the off season, goes and helps Mark Zona's boat in the off season. And then, and then still shows up to college events to do hats and support and give out graphs and support the team of the year and things for college bass. So that's huge, seeing those people who care about kids when before it was cool. He was at the college events before it was cool. And so what you were talking about is doing things, character is often described as doing things when no one's watching, doing the right thing when no one's watching. Right. Sometimes it's hard to do that and know that success isn't followed closely near that. I'll even say somebody like Carl Jocumsen. You said not to name drop in the negative. I'll name drop in the positive. Somebody like Carl, beloved by industry. His story is incredible, and his perseverance is there. And for the first 7 or 8 years of his career, as he was trying to make it through the opens, making it, getting, kind of, booted out of the Elite Series, doing well at FLW, then coming back and qualifying. Carl's got the story that everyone would hope to have. Never gave up, did the right way, was well respected, and then success came his way. The second stint on the Elite Series, he wins an Elite at 10 Killer, changes his life forever. Now he's getting consistent, making back-to-back classics. His first 2 class back-to-back seasons, getting the consistency. This is hard work if you do it the right way. And so respect to the guys who do it the right way and are doing it at a high level. He's learning a lot of his early career mistakes were mistakes I was making at the Fishers of Men tournament trail when I had to have my buddy take our weigh-in photo because they didn't have national media there. Like we are seeing this kid grow up into a man at the top level. So we knew he had the skill, we knew the ability, we knew he had the desire, but now it's finally clicking where we can say, you know what, I can trust him to do well in this event or that event. Sure. I think that, I'm torn about it because the old head nature of anglers is we did it the right way. These young guys aren't doing it the right way. And I don't like that approach to it because I'm still one of those young guys. I've gotten opportunities that others before me didn't have. And I've also had maybe stigmas held against that other people didn't have. But when it comes to doing it the right way, there are a ton of college anglers, local anglers in the opens that do it the right way. Don't let the drama and the weeds of the sport make it look like every new flash in the pan is only there because their buddy helped them in the dark when it was the gray area, or they're pushing the lines on this. Not everybody's like that. There's a lot of old souls and young man bodies out on the opens trail. It's cutthroat. It is very difficult. And I'll say, my girls are going for a walk before dark and they're waving through the window. There's a lot of guys who do it the right way. And that's not for me to push back on the old guys. There's a way that it was done without GPS, without electronics, without information, and they were successful. But let's remember, we didn't have rules regulating information to the degree we have now.
Right.
Just 7 to 10 years ago, when people were at the peak of their career, there were guys who got info that were highly successful with it, and it was within the realm of rules. There were guys who got direct waypoints. It was within the realm of rules. It was fine. And now it's not. Now I would almost say the younger guys have it harder in that aspect because they don't have as much network connection. Let's just say, because this has been a topic, is like when we evaluate rules, should we have a no information rule like we do, where it's You can't fish with anybody. You can't get info once the schedule's announced, and you have 30-day off limits of actually fishing there, prior to the tournament. If you were to let young guys try to network and compare with the old guys' Rolodex, it doesn't happen. Do the young guys have just as much info sometimes publicly available that old guys do? For sure, because the internet's here, the information's there, the learning curve is quicker, but there are values. There are Mark Menendez seeing a lake in 1997 on flood conditions is tangible info I cannot see it at. But me seeing fish or where I should position fish on my topo maps and lake master charts, those are things that he may not be used to doing or something like that, just throwing out an older angler that's well respected. So I'll say there's a push and pull. The old regime, he had it easier in some ways, not finding out information in terms of public availability, but having those network resources. When you were an exclusive touring pro, there's only about 100 of them back in the day. Now there's a couple leagues of 100. And so there's a lot of different push and pull, but I will say fishing is so fair. That's unfair. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter if you got the info, you may not catch them. It doesn't matter if you don't have info, you may win the tournament because you're doing something no one expected to pay off. Tyler wrote Okeechobee, no info, no clue, doing something that wouldn't work at Okeechobee 10 years ago because they would laugh you out of the park if you threw a jerk bait, in the river, and it wins a tournament because it's a different way of thinking. So different perspectives, different cultures, different regions of the country exposed. West Coast guys bring in things they do to the East, all those different things. I think our sport is rooted in fairness at times. Like it's because it's so chaotic and unknown. It's ultimately fair.
And everything can change at any given time. Any conditions can change. Conditions will make the most knowledgeable angler level with the rest of the playing field.
You could be the best on the best spot on the lake at the wrong time of day, and it doesn't matter. Or it could be the best local on the lake, and it warms up really fast, and they head to the bank, or it cools off, and those fish leave your area. Like you can know as much as you want, and that can get in your way. And so, it's an absolutely, like I said in college when I was hopeful every day, you could hero one day and zero the next. You could zero one day, you could hero the next. That's what we live for. That's why this sport's so interesting. In basketball, LeBron James for the last 12 years has been the best NBA player, overall throughout the career, which is crazy to be at the top of your game that long. And it's really rare to have a bad game. Whereas we could see KVD during his heyday, it was really rare for him to have a bad tournament, but it still happened. But he was able to touch those top fives, top tens much more frequently than others were. That's what made it's not that his lows didn't happen. It was that his highs were so high that some guys on their best year couldn't match his okay years. That's the
no
deal.
doubt. There was a time back in 94. 94.
Man.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go really back on you here. This was the Superstars tournament on the Illinois River. And I was working that show. And I remember KVD came in one day. This is after cashing 17 straight checks. Okay. When he first started, and he goes, I caught one fish today. And I went, thank God it's not just me.
Yes.
Because Illinois can be brutal. And
I said that in the classic. I saw Gerald Swindle 0 at Lake Gunnersville, and I was like, that's his home lake. I should never be overly mad at myself for zeroing. I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. So give yourself some grace for sure.
Well, yeah, I lost Angler of the Year one year on the circuit. I was fishing on my home lake because it got inside my own head. It was on like I said, it was on my home lake. And when you see somebody like Gerald Swindle do it or KVD come in with one or none, you go, you know what? It's not just you. It does happen to the best of them, and you get a little bit of reprieve from the ass butt whooping that you got for that day. You feel a little bit better about it. Let's take a break. I'm going to ask you guys all this before we take this break. Okay. Go to Dakota Lithium. I want you to tell me what their slogan is. Tell me what their slogan is. If you go to dakotalithium.com right now and tell me their slogan, I will pick somebody sometime in the show to win a new Dakota Lithium power box. And trust me, if you've been on the road without a power box, you're going to want one for safety in the back of your truck. I've used it for a ton of different things. So go to Dakota Lithium. Tell me what their slogan is. Pretty easy. Get on the website, flash it up, put it in the comments. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk some stories with Ronnie, because I definitely want to hear some stories. And then we're going to talk a little bit more after that because we got a whole bunch more stuff coming up. So glad you're in for the long haul. This is going to be fun.
American Tackle is home to the award-winning microwave line control system. Rod blanks to reel seats, ferrules to finish, grips to guides. They are committed to the very best in rod building components. Find out more, americantackle.us. With fishing beyond your expectations, indoor and outdoor activities, a vast variety of places to eat, drink, and stay. Discover your next adventure between the bluffs. ExploreLaCrosse.com. Located in Springfield, Illinois' largest selection of sports and sportswear, hunting, fishing, specialty shops and services, a 65-foot Ferris wheel, 16,000-gallon saltwater aquarium, and industry-leading knowledgeable employees. You don't take chances at Shields, ever. Go to Shields.com. Achieving affordable innovation through novel concepts and in-house ingenious designs. Cascading cost-effective e-commerce practices directly market to consumers, cutting costs by 30% or more on average. Affordable innovation, superior quality. Casking.com. Believing quality is measured by lifespan and harnessing their unique chemistry and engineering know-how. Dakota Lithium lasts 4 times longer, powering your passion with an 11-year warranty. Find out more, DakotaLithium.com.
Slickfish Radio with Jim Crowley can be seen and heard on Roku, Fire TV, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iTunes.
There we go. Come here. Get in here. Yeah. Nice fish right there. Hi, I'm Jim Crowley. Make sure you catch my show, Jim Crowley Outdoors, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Wired to Fish TV. Look for Jim Crowley Outdoors on Wired to Fish TV on free ad-supported streaming TV, including Plex, that can be downloaded in the App Store at Apple TV, Roku, Samsung, and others.
And we are back. We are back with Ronnie Moore, and we got answers right away. You guys, I will always say, we may not have the biggest audience out there, but we've got at least 7 or 8 states on tonight, and we got people that you guys are fast. You guys, we already got an answer. I don't even think we got after the first part of the break, and you guys already put in here. We got a couple here. What's Nick's here? When you talk old and young, who would better take technology out if they had no information? Nick, we'll get to your question just in a minute, but I got 2 or 3 answers. Nick commented, this is a new viewer, and he just commented, Adam, go further, last longer, fish harder. Guess what, Adam? You just won a Dakota Lithium Power Box. And I got more answers coming in here now. Guys, thank you. Adam, I'm going to contact you after the show or message me at Jim Crowley Outdoors on Facebook. I need to get your address. I need to get your info, and we will have Dakota Lithium send you a new power box. And you guys can keep commenting. I see Mark Dyer just popped up. He got it too. Nate Watseki, he just said it too. Mark Dyer came in here. Mark, I'm sorry I didn't see that one first. I saw it. Mark, I'll tell you what. Longtime viewer of the show, Mark, I'm going to send you a hat. Okay, so we're going to send you a hat as a consolation prize because now I feel bad, Mark. I didn't see that. So I have a big heart, so I'll send you a care package as well, Mark. So please forgive me for not seeing that first. But first guy I picked was Adam. Adam, thank you for that. You are the first one that I saw, and so we're going to give you that. We're going to go back to another question here. Let's see, Ronnie, and see what this says here. So Nick asked, when you talk old and young, who would be better if you take technology out and they had no information? Oh, I bet that can change, though.
That's a moving goalpost type of that's the one. You don't like the gray area, Jim, and that is the gray area because you just don't know. Who is young? Is Brandon Polinick still young? He's like 34. Like, is that young?
Yeah.
Let's just say this. There's an example of a kid named John Garrett, second in the Open's EQ points, locked up his bid to qualify for the Elite Series, in my opinion. Last event, just catches a fish on day 1 this week at the Open. He'll be good to go. He is an old soul in a young man's body. He could catch it when it was just side imaging and it was the graphs were this big, not because of their technology, but it was just because of this. It's hard to say. He would compete well, triangulating and throwing a 10-inch worm on a Carolina rig, dragging on an offshore spot. He would do well. Would there be someone who's 22 not do well? Probably so. Would there be some older gentlemen with technology that would do well? For sure. Is Rick Clunn embracing it? 100%. It's hard to take that and just throw an answer out. And also, I'll say this. We are biased, and I'm not getting upset. I'm just getting passionate. We are biased in our slant when we ask that question because we've seen Greg Hackney, Gerald Swindle, Jason Christie, Rick Clunn, Larry Nixon do it without electronics and have millions of dollars of success. And now we have fishing with electronics, and we see Patrick Walters do it to a level that I promise you, no electronics. Patrick Walters is still a Bass millionaire quicker than most guys. He's still a multi-time elite champ at some point in his career. He may have exploited technology and got on the train and knew it quickly. He has gotten better, and he works harder than most people would. I mean, if you think about starting the Elite Series without having forward-facing sonar, he leads the points race, struggles his rookie year on the small swing, finishes 16th in points. And then the next 4 years of his elite career without live scope and then adding it at times or forward-facing sonar, he has been top 5 the last 4 years in AOY. So you can't tell me that Patrick Walters without Fs wouldn't catch him, because he totally would. It's all subjective, but don't let the recency bias of young invasion and technology coming in at the same time, college anglers gaining steam, technology gaining steam at the same time, skew you from the fact that if these college anglers didn't have that technology, they would figure it out. If anything, they have the internet to learn how to flip a jig better. They have the different things. They would figure out how to flip a jig or throw a top water or dead stick a Senko. Like, they would figure that out because they have the desire to. Those who do not have the desire and lean heavily on technology, they'll get exposed at a certain point. You cannot still be a one-trick pony. I know we had the last 3 Elite Series events dominated by forward-facing sonar, and there was probably 3 of the 6 largemouth events this year won with it, but the rest of the top 10 in those events did not really have equal representation with forward-facing sonar. They were not doing it. They were sight fishing. They were chatbaiting, were swim jigging. You know, they were doing something else and were able to be successful. So that's a hard question. There's no correct answer, but I guarantee if you grew up without technology, you're a good fisherman without it. It's the two-pronged approach. What if we gave the old guys technology? Who's going to be the first old guy to pick it up and do well with it? That's the question. Is Jason Christie close to 50 years old? Is he an old guy? If so, he's pretty dang good with forward-facing sonar.
I'd say he's pretty good. And this is a question that Nick just said, would it be fun to see old and young battle it out without technology? Well, I think we have. And a good example of me with that would be John Cox.
John Cox, Brandon Polinick, he was winning every year.
Those are just guys that are just good. I mean, there was a rumor I didn't know for sure, but I've heard it, seen it. You know, sometimes Cox's graph on his boat is broken. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me.
Sometimes he doesn't even put one on his boat.
Yeah, because you know why? He's still, when they're fishing reservoirs. I mean, that's how we grew up. We didn't have that, so we learned to read reservoirs by creek channels and banks and learn to think like that. If you're going to put technology into that now, where it's going to cut that edge even easier, which it has. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm not the greatest with electronics. There are things that I'm okay with. There are things, that's why I said, we talked before the show.
Me neither.
I'll be the first one to admit it. This year or next year, I'm actually taking somebody out in the spring that's younger than me, knows this better, because I want to learn. I don't compete much anymore except for some small tournaments. You know why I want to learn? Because it's an advancement of the sport. I love smallmouth fishing. That is my passion. Freshwater, saltwater, I love it all. I don't care. As long as it's got fins, I want to catch it. But when it comes to smallmouth, that's how I was raised. And if I can, 360 to me was a huge thing, because now I can see the changes in the bottom. I can see those structure contours that I didn't know were there. I was catching fish out there, but now I know why better than I ever had with side imaging or down. I want to see that, because now it gives me a picture. I'm the kind of guy that you got to go, I'm dumb, show me. Stand next to me in a boat and show me. 360 would do that for me. There's going to be guys out there. I'm going to have Denny Brower on the show in a couple of weeks. He's my all-time favorite jig fisherman. I saw him back when I was in my 20s, met him a couple times, always followed his career, loved what he did with the jig. And still, to me, it's still, for his age, incredible angler. You can't argue with his result when they had nothing. What if he was competing now and doing it? You don't know. But
Those who want, like, it's the same thing when we talk about the changes to the opens, going from 3 in a division to 9, and who's going to qualify, all these things. When we go to the talk about the Bass Nation changes, there's no longer, the changes for next year. Like, they would say, well, why are you doing this? That means Polinick and Eichen wouldn't have qualified in the current format. You're telling me that Brandon Polinick and Ike Nelly are going to say no. They're gonna take no for an answer. No, they're going to figure out a way to do it. Kyle Welcher busted on the scene in 2020, a rookie during the most tumultuous time, but also the time fishing so much airtime on ESPN live because no other sports were happening. We were doing Bass Live on ESPN, and now obviously we've transitioned to FS1 and done more live TV for fishing than ever been done each year, and it keeps going up. Kyle Welcher was the crankbait, chatterbait, buzzbait. That's who he was. That was his jig. I mean, in his rookie year, he designed a signature series jig with untamed tackle because he was such a shallow water grinder. Almost, his top 10, top 15 points, fighting for rookie of the year, got so much love and awareness about who he was. Did the same thing in 2021, had a great year. 2022 has a downturn, just a tough year. Who knows why? I'm sure why it happened. Had a tough year. He spent the offseason practicing forward-facing sonar to the point to where he would feel that if it was a player, he could play. And he still has his skills of shallow water angling. He puts both of them together. He wins Angler of the Year this year, and he does so in convincing fashion in the last few events where Cobb didn't slip, he didn't slip, something had to give, and he wins. He's a young guy. He's an old soul in a young man's body with the way he likes to fish. He called me this offseason worried it was going to be banned because he has spent so much time trying to learn it and perfect it and make his weakness a strength that he was asking if it was what is your vibe on, is this going to be a thing? Because he's worked his tail off.
Sure.
It's not a plug and play. I'm a young guy. He's an old guy. I'm just going to exo facto win because of my age range and technology, what I grew up with. He worked his butt off. He fishes more than anybody in the offseason, and he fished every day to try to get better at it. So if it played, he could win. And we see our top 2 guys in AOY really not be guys who would be known for electronics, and that's Brandon Cobb, Kyle Welcher. And they did their deal in the first couple events, pre-spawn, spawn, immediate post-spawn, shallow water fishing, and then boom, smallmouth swing comes. They both miss it and both don't miss a beat. We were going to the Northern Swing talking about Jay Shakir, some of these guys could catch them. They did their best, and they had worse finishes than those guys. Those guys stepped their game up. So it's a moot point. One thing this does do, it makes a clone who has nothing to prove to anyone have a desire to learn something. The PSA to those who use it as a crutch excuse, evaluate yourself. And I say that with the most respect possible. This isn't 1999 anymore. This isn't 2015 anymore. This is 2023. Things have changed. We don't wear leather helmets. We play football. We don't shoot basketballs on peach baskets. We play the game as it evolves. And this way, let's just say the smallmouth swing has always been notorious more boring than the largemouth tournaments because fishing 2D, waiting for fish to bite, deep water, slow. Every time you set the hook, it's 5 minutes to land the fish. It's been that way for eternity.
Right.
And now it's the same thing. We're seeing a much quicker rate of fish. We're seeing anglers be selective on, hey, I'm trying to get anything to bite. Now they're like, that's a 5-pounder. I'm trying to get that one to bite because that's a 3-pounder. And so don't tell me that live's boring. I every minute of it. I watch all the replay, cut the commercials out of the live archives. I watch everything. I post all the videos to highlight to YouTube and .com. I see it all. I get it, but it's always been that way up north.
And because
yeah.
No matter what level you were at 20 years ago or now, it's all strategy.
For sure.
And I always think when people, well, I don't like live scope. Don't make an excuse for your fishing. Fish don't think. They simply react to their environment. Will they react to that? Yeah. Okay. So then we change again. Will they react
negatively? Will they swim away from the transducer now when you point it over at them? For sure.
Yeah. I saw it in ice fishing.
For sure.
I saw it in ice fishing. I saw it this past year where a school of crappies, you'd be on it, you'd put that thing down there, you'd see them. And if that was on there too long, they start dissipating. I watched. But now I'm going to say this for the guys who are watching. Do you need live scope to catch fish? No.
No.
But
If you don't like it, fine tune the other tournament techniques that you think you can win with, and be that one trick pony feed when they're biting a jig. I just, for my biases out there, I'm a 30-year-old bass angler, grew up in the college series with the same young guns who are killing on the elite series now, fished against the Lee brothers, the Atkins, the Whitakers, the Cooks, the Walter, fished against all of them. And they're successful now because they adapt and change. If I launched my boat that's in the backyard that hasn't been used in months because we're so busy with live coverage, if I launched it, there's no forward-facing sonar on it. I would be throwing a frog, throwing a swim jig, throwing a chatterbait. That's what I like to. So don't paint me in a corner as he's a young guy. Of course, he sides with technology. I would not like it. I don't like it. I don't like fishing. I don't like fishing offshore. So it helps everything. We kind of learn, and at some point, these fish will get so conducive to it, the strengths will come back into play for those shallow guys. They will have a chance to thrive because those fish will get stingy out there, just like the ledges late in the summer, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's one great thing about our sport. It's ever evolving. You can't go out on the water one day, or you shouldn't, without being able to learn something. There are days when you get humbled when I go, I got my butt kicked today, but I learned why. You know, and then there are days when you can cast over shoulder backwards on one leg and put fish in a boat. That's the days that keep you coming back for more. But, you know, like when guys wanted to outlaw the Alabama rig, or I remember when the bladed jig first came out, chatterbait, whatever you want to call it, guys were doing and freaking out about all these things. Guys, stop freaking out. It's our sport. It's gonna totally evolve and it's gonna change. If we don't change, we die. Period. And for these guys that are coming up, more kudos. I remember paging through Bassmaster magazine as a kid and Fishing Facts and everything to learn everything I could when I went out on the water. Maybe I'd have more than the next guy. And that's every angler, whether he's a weekend angler or a seasoned tournament pro, you always want to feel like you have more, learn more than the next guy. So you go, well, how am I going to compete against the guys with forward-facing sonar? In my opinion, here's what you do. Learn. If you're not going to learn forward-facing sonar, learn the techniques that you already know. Do something better. Do something different. Change your approach.
Go fish the water that's not getting fished. You know, and obviously that's not going to be a winning thing all the time. But when winning has become such a focus that people forget that 25th is good. I'm not settling for losing. It is, you know, like we all want to win. We want the big prize. We want the glory. We want the TV exposure. We want all that. Yeah. But not every time you launch the boat, you're going to have a chance to win the tournament. That's just facts. And I'll say that remember also, in the world we live in today, it's just like Facebook. You, not aging you, Jim, but back in the day, if the sky was falling in the world, you maybe had to listen to the radio or you turned the knob on the V for them to tell you that the world was falling. Now you can open your phone and see 900 posts on Facebook like that the world's falling. So is it falling worse than it did in the 80s? Is this situation happening right now? This controversy, this war, this sickness, is this as worse as these other things in history? Or is it we only had newspapers, we only had TV stations, we only had radio, and it was limited access to this. So you're underwhelmed with the lack of info. You don't have info about topics. Now you have so much info, you get it much easier. We had 45-minute TV shows pre-2020. In 2019, we were still doing 45-minute TV shows on ESPN, and they would only show you the best moments of the week. You'd cut out all of those dead moments of guys trying to catch fish. You only show the good parts. Now we show you 7 hours. We've got live mix. We've got live. We've got anglers with their own recap. We've got your photo galleries. We have overwhelmed you with information that now it's like the sky's falling. Every guy I see is looking down at his graph. We have 100 anglers, and we have 8 to 10 on camera, and half of them may be doing it at times. And there's a predominant, you know,
I'm focused on the guys winning at the time.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do. We want to show the winners. And so we're not going to go show the 50th place cut, because that's not going to help you learn how to be a better fisherman at times. So I'll say this: we get overwhelmed with information. We get 7 hours of Bass Live. There's a lot more chances to learn and more chance to get fed up than there was with 45-minute shows where there was no live coverage. You didn't really have any photo galleries, and you had to wait till Sunday, 2 weeks later, to see how it happened. You heard how it happened. Now let's see how it happened. Now you can tune in Thursday through Sunday and get fired from your job for watching for 28 hours, you know?
Because that would have been me. If I was still working that job, that would have been me. I
got in
could not
trouble in
wait.
school in college watching.
Oh, I could not wait for Bob Cobb to come on. When I heard that voice and that music, dude, I can still see the intro of Larry Nixon having that big fish on the crankbait in the pads. Denny Brower putting his fist up like this when he caught that 7-pounder off the dock to win megabucks. I mean, and I saw that weeks later, after they did it, and I was still sitting in my living room going nuts, because those were the guys that now I can do it live, and it's just kind of cool. Like
it's the nostalgia of the unknown.
Yeah, at ICAST this year, and even a Classic, I talked to a couple of the guys who had, like Brian Thrift, congratulated on his win when he did for MLF. I talked to a couple other guys from B.A.S.S, talked to Bill Lowen again about, his win a couple of years ago, and go, dude, I was screaming there with you when you set the hook on that jig, dude, because I was pulling for you, to win that event. And when you did that, because I've done a lot of work with Lure Parts Online, and so has Bill. So we've done a couple things together, and just to see him do that, I'm like, dude, I don't think anybody besides your immediate family might have screamed louder than I freaking did when I was watching you catch. And that was because of live and because of what you guys did. The last couple of things I want to talk to you about. One is love the board of knowledge, screen of knowledge, whatever you want to call it. I absolutely love it. That's a big part of the show that Dakota Lithium does, but I love it for your breakdown and everything going over, because that is the geeky stuff that I really like. Okay, that is it. I want to know what's going on. I want to, and the stats and all that stuff. I love that. The question I want to ask is, I actually sometimes feel bad for Tommy Sanders, because it seems like between you and Zona and everybody else in there, he is more of a corral guy. And I remember watching Tommy before all this happened. Back in the day, him coming on ESPN, and I go, that guy has got an awesome voice for TV. We were talking a little bit about that before this started, and I just got to get it out there, because I just think this would be a cool guy to just sit down and just talk with. And I'm hoping he's everything like he is in there, because I think he is a great moderator for the rest of the gang. What are your thoughts?
Jim, I'll go ahead and be completely honest. Breaking news. Tom is absolutely the worst individual ever, because he can never take a compliment. He can never take a compliment. He is the worst, best guy ever, because he is the absolute bomb. Tommy is a hero, a mentor of mine, someone who puts up with me. I appreciate anybody who keeps, he hasn't necessarily invited me back to Bass Live each week, but he tolerates me doing that. But is the quintessential pros pro. He is the setup guy. He is John Stockton, the career leader in assists. Absolutely the best guy that our sport could be gifted. The time. Okay, it's almost time. Okay. There just did bath time. Our little girl and my wife just did bath time. So but Tommy is the absolute best. He is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to music, history, geography, golf. He's a huge golf guy. Tommy he went to school for theater. He's an acting, theater major type guy. Yeah. So remembering things, laying out lines, doing a read for FS1. Tommy is this pro. So for me early on, it was hard to handle, because I was comparing myself to the bar, not someone who set the bar, to the actual bar. When they created a bar of tournament commentary for bass fishing, they didn't have to move rungs up. They created the first rung, and it was Tommy, and everybody's been down here ever since. And so that's been the goal. I always want to be the best I can be. Tommy is that. And so I was always comparing myself to Tommy, and after the first year in 2017, I really honestly struggled to find who I was, because Tommy and I both have the ability to be play-by-play. And when Tommy is there, I can default into color analyst. And then when Tommy isn't there, I can be play-by-play. Or if Tommy needs someone else to set someone else up, I can do both as well. And so I try to assist Tommy where I can. And I've learned so much from him. Humility at times, managing different personalities. I've always been somewhat of a people pleaser, not necessarily a yes man, but If I don't know if I can do it, well, let's try to do it, and I'll try to make it happen. If I can do it, tell me the deadline. We'll make sure to execute. Like Jim, if we're being honest, I'm a winner. I try to be a winner in everything I do. I'm like Ron Swanson of Parks and Rec. I never try to half butt two things. I try to whole butt one thing. So I try to, if I'm going to do something, I try to be 100% invested in it. I try to do it. And so Tommy has helped me balance personalities, not getting upset and offended. He's subtly been a mentor to me. And a Tommy story that I'll tell you is my, introduction to him. 2010 Bassmaster Classic, Lay Lake, Beeswax Creek Classic. KVD wins it. Everybody in the top 10 is Beeswax. And we went out and watched anglers on the water. That was my first time I was ever on TV, Jim, because when I can only call his last fish in Lay Lake, you could hear a teenage kid scream at the top of his lungs in celebration. And that was me out in a boat watching Ike land his last keeper on the final day. I thought he had a shot to win. He did not win. But later on that day, they're doing the live, replay and breakdown of the winner of the Classic to ESPN that night. That was when they did the live back to ESPN reaction to it. And it was at the BJCC and Legacy Arena right there in Birmingham. They have an amphitheater. If you've ever been to those classics in Birmingham, amphitheater between all the buildings, and they had their hooked up stage there. They had all the metal, fences around it. And my dad always taught me patience. He said, we were big NASCAR NHRA fans. He always said patience. When there's a huge crowd of people, you're probably not going to get your stuff signed by yelling, hey, sign. Be patient. When the crowd leaves and you're left standing there, you may spend an extra hour at times. You'll get an opportunity no one else would have gotten. And we waited. And Mark Zona, Tommy Sand, my future coworkers were there. I didn't know who they were at the time, but now I work with those people. Tommy and Zona came over, gave us the time of day. I'm a young kid. I said, Mr. Mark, and because I always called people, I was polite. I would have been Mr. Jim instead of Mr. Crowley. It was Mr. Jim, Mr. Mark, Mr. Tommy. And that was the last time I called him Mr. Mark. He said, it's Zona. So I said, okay, Zona, Mr. Zona. And then I got to talk to them. I told them I wanted to work with them one day. They gave me the just work hard, and you never know what'll happen one day. And then, 6 to 7 years later, I'm in my 20s and I get to work with them. And after my first live show with them, after my first college show with Tommy, and then after working on a Zona show with him, I literally sat there and was like, I did it. And they were like, did what? And I was like, I was a kid that came up and you said, just give it your best. And here I am. So that's awesome. I hope if I get the opportunity to even represent Bass in the position I am, let's just like I never reached Tommy's position. I hope in my position, I still value the influence to where when I see older generations come up and say, hey, thanks for sharing your faith. Or when I see younger generations come up and say, man, what you do is so cool. I hope I have the perspective to take the time to spend that moment with them, because that future Ron Moore, that's a future Tommy Sanders, that's a future, Mark Zona. Right. And I honestly want to tell every kid, like, hey, I hope you take my job one day. In the moment, it would suck, but in the long term, that's your legacy. That's your legacy. Is someone watched you, had a passion for what you did, and then ended up taking your job one day. You never want to be benched for the rookie on the basketball team, but when you do, and he calls you his hero, there's a little bit of warmness that goes, through your body. So I'm still trying to get Tommy out of the starting lineup, but I'm still come on. I got bench minutes over here.
I've always said, if we pass on what we know, the sport will grow. And you said that elaborately and beautifully. Is the same thing. You can, if you want to be that guy, then be that guy.
Yeah.
If you want to go for something,
where you
hard work in and do it.
Yes. If your boss and people can trust you with a little, and they'll trust you with a lot. If you can be faithful and you can be gracious with the little limelight, a little bit of respect or popularity you get, the Lord knows He can trust you in those big moments. And so that's how I truly live. And I try my best. I'm still a rambunctious, outspoken person with a temper. That's one thing my dad,
You're preaching to the choir, brother.
Other than his name, like me, man, my wife has helped coach the temper out of me at times, but man, I get fired up about. So I don't know if it was because I hit 30 this summer, but like I just have more of a peace to myself about things. It's not the end of the world, but those moments with Tommy, I'll always cherish it. I'll always remember this story too. We got the Masters going on during Bassmaster Live. I'm watching it on Twitter, you know, the updates. Oh my gosh, so-and-so's within this shot. He's like, don't tell me. I've got it on record. I'm watching it each night when I go home. We leave Bass Live, and there's a digital billboard in Little Rock, and it says, congratulations, Jordan Spieth, Masters champion, as Tommy's driving home, and he sees it after we've not talked about it all day long. We've spared him from spoiling it. A digital billboard in Little Rock spoils, and he's like, oh no, now I just need to know how much he won the Masters by. And so Tommy's the best. He's truly a hero. And I know the way Tommy's personality is, that's why I'm worried about him, is that he could do his last show with Bass. We would never know it. Yeah. Because he wouldn't want to tell us because he doesn't want to be honored. But
just a good guy.
I'm about to get upset. I didn't wake up Saturday mornings with Ray Scott and Bob Cobb. I'm thankful for what they did for the sport. I didn't wake up with them. I woke up Saturday mornings and saw Tommy Sanders and Mark Zona. So the opportunity that I get to work with my heroes, and that maybe there's a kid watching Bass Live and sees me in that light, is one of the most humbling things ever, that I could even be a role model for someone. And so, man, the time is now to be that role model. You can't work on being one. You have to just do it. So
you don't pass it. You don't pass the torch, buddy. You let it burn.
Tommy is the absolute same person we see. He is. Cool. I tell Tommy all the time, Jim Nance wakes up every morning and says his daily affirmations in the mirror, and one of them is, thank God Tommy Sanders got into fishing. He would have taken my job on the Masters and football. Tommy is a better version of Jim Nance, a better version of Mr. Rogers, a better version of Bob Ross. He is the best version of a gentle human that has a storytelling atmosphere. It was long overdue. He should have been in the Hall of Fame the second they opened it.
It's coming.
And I will be like, well, he got, you know, it was during COVID, he got inducted, and I could be and see that. And I just know what he's meant to me. And so I will cry my eyes out the first ever show that we have to do, if we ever have to do one, where Tommy is fully not a part of it. We've done the opens where he's at home getting a relaxful weekend or doing whatever. But when he's for sure not walking back through that door, it will be an end of an era like we've never seen before, for sure.
Well, hopefully that'll be a long time in coming. I enjoyed, just like everybody's tuned in tonight, I enjoyed a heck out of all you guys. I was really thrilled. And thank you for answering the email and coming on the show, because I enjoy what you do. I enjoy the commentary. I like the facts. I like the nitty-gritty, get down to it type of stuff, because I always want to know why. And I love what you guys do. Y'all do a great job. It makes it enjoyable, makes it fun, it makes it educational and entertaining.
We're going to bring it this year. We're going to bring it this year. I made a point, thinking back to my childhood, how educational Bassmaster shows were, whether it was the holograms or the 3D underwaters. I still try to utilize those at the Screen of Knowledge, even though they're a decade old, because those are the ones I grew up on. I'll tell you that crankbait dredging the bottom was a Wheeler Lake event where Jeremy Starks was fishing, or David Walker. And so that's my childhood. And I thought this off season, with forward-facing sonar, with how good these anglers are, our shows at times have become entertainment factories. And that's the case. That is truly the case for every sport. We want to see the 70-7 NFL game, or 70-70 NFL games. We want to see the 120-120 NBA game. We want to see that. Baseball, 1-0. That's very brutal to watch. But in the meantime, we also love Dan Orlovsky, his Screen of Knowledge for NFL, breaking down a play and what the quarterback saw, or why this play was designed this way. And I promise you, I'm going to try to bring it at the screen more this year to get back to some of the educational aspects of it, because that's still super valuable. And that is why Bassmaster has been and will always be the best, is because we got to make it educational. These guys will bring it and bring the entertainment. We got to teach them why these guys are the best in the world, you know? And so I promise you, I may have slacked off. I had a lot of stuff go on daily, like you said at the beginning. Not comment. There's a lot of things to do that people may not see, and I don't need a compliment for that. It's just I've maybe taken my foot off the gas in the educational aspect of it. Jim, it's back on. I'm going to do my best to bring it teaching wise next year.
And I have 100% no doubt that you'll do that. I said I've enjoyed it this far, and it was so much fun having you on. I know you got a young family there. I appreciate your time. I love seeing the pictures, by the way. Those are just great.
It's my greatest accomplishment. This is my 10th season with Bass. I just turned 30. Bass and the fans of your show, the fans of Bassmaster Live, the fans of Bassmaster anything, allowed me to grow up before their eyes. Some of them had some rude comments to say. I saw them. Don't you worry. I'd never forget. But you allowed a kid to come from college and grow up on TV as he's learning, as he's growing, as he's developing. And so I'll never, I've spent a third of my life working for B.A.S.S. And I will say, becoming a dad right after the Classic in 2022, that's the greatest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And man, being a dad, trying to do my due diligence there, not missing appointments. Our crew in Little Rock, the JM Studios there, Bassmaster Studios, the 15 to 20 people that work there full time have been so gracious in saying, don't miss appointments, awesome. don't miss moments. Work will be here. We know you'll work hard and get it done on the weekends, whenever at night. Don't miss. Haven't missed much, and I'm grateful for that. And God has provided. Sarah gets to stay at home, take care of our daughter, and we got a church family that we adore. And I couldn't be more thankful for all that. So Ronnie Moore is, like I used to always say, like the chart. It might go up and down, but I'm going up. In terms of just fulfillment and happiness. So that's a huge part of it that keeps me going. I got to work hard for them because I want them to see Dad putting in the time, putting in the prayer time, putting in the work time. And hopefully they see a guy one day, Marlo will, when she's like 55 and she has to get married, that maybe resembles Dad. Who knows?
Yeah, they definitely become a reflection of what we show them. My friend, and I call you my friend. I wish we could have talked longer beforehand.
We can do it again, whatever you want.
Well, I would like you to come back on next year and give a recap again, because I think it was very formative, entertaining. Love the stories. Hopefully we'll get to meet someday in person. I'm sure we're going to cross the right paths at some stuff, because I bet there's a lot of funnier stories that we know of the same people. I'm just betting.
Grand Lake's not that far. Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That's true. That's true. Might have to make an appointment.
I'll be there. It's on you.
We might have to, and I appreciate that we may have to work. We may have to work on something like I do have another show. We can maybe work that out. That would be good. I want to thank you for your time and energy tonight. God bless you and your family and those great guys that you keep us so entertained with and so informed with. Say hi. And thank you for everything. And this will be live on the other outlets later. But thank you for everybody joining us tonight. I'm going to talk to you a little bit after I let Ronnie go. Go be with your family, my friend. Thank you so much. And I said it once. I'm going to say it again. God bless you and your family. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course, man. Thank you. We'll have to hook you up with Tommy, and you guys can spend an hour talking about everything but fishing, because that dude is the man. So
hey, one thing real quick. Where can they find you on social media? You got a great following on Instagram, but where can they find you on social media?
Ronnie Moore Bass on all platforms, and Twitter has become much more other sports related because I pay attention to everything. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and honestly, just go follow the Bassmaster YouTube. That's been a passion project of mine. We've hit heights that we've never hit before this year, and we're so close to accomplishing some goals. So if you don't care for Ronnie Moore, that's fine. I love you the same. Thanks for viewing and tuning in. But send a word. We are all brothers on this earth, trying to make it, trying to figure it out. You may be in your pit while I'm in my peak. but there's always something to be learned from each other. So if you ever have a prayer request, if you ever have hard, send a message. I try to look at all of them to a fault, and I'll do my best to help bring us all up to a level where we can be function at a high level.
A lot of us have that in common, and that's that humility of having the grace of God.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
I don't deserve it. I didn't earn it. I thank God he gave it to me.
I say this all the time. I fail him every day. I think he has a chuckle once in a while, and I think my guardian angel probably has a drinking problem. But otherwise than that, we can, like my wife always tells me, she goes, Jim Crowley, I think you're honestly an ongoing science experiment. And she's probably right. She's probably right. Again, I'm going to tell you, my friend, God bless you. Thanks for being on the show. Go be with your family, and thank you for a wonderful show.
Appreciate you, all the Slick Fish Radio fans. We'll see you later. Appreciate you.
What a great time. And that is the record for probably our longest show and most informative and fun. I wanted to get Ronnie, and thank you for all of you that were on tonight. Thank you for doing this tonight. I always say this. I am truly blessed by all of you, because we would not, whether you're on Facebook, see us later, or on YouTube, or if you watch us later on Roku and Fire TV or the other outlets that we're on, Amazon Music, iTunes, and Spotify, whatever. Thank you. We have great sponsors for this show, and they hear you. You guys are great at supporting the companies that support us, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate them. Before we leave tonight, we want to thank American Tackle, Explore Lacrosse, Shields, Casking, and Dakota Lithium. And I promised all of you that are still tuning in, we're going to do this. Let's do this right here. All right. We always give you the Casking code at the end of the show. JC52AFF. Go to the Cast King website and check out some of the new reels, rods, tackle boxes, and tools. Some of the new tools, phenomenal, incredible. What if you got 20% off everything on the site? You do now with that code. If you go to castking.com, use that code right there. You get 20% off rods, reels, anything that you want on the Cast King site, clothing, you get that. How about this? You guys have asked me about Dakota lithium batteries. How about this? Now we got a 10% off code for Dakota lithium batteries. Anything on a Dakota lithium battery site, Slickfish 10, put that in. You get 10% off anything on Dakota lithium batteries site. Go there now. Check it out. You want the battery company that supports the industry and has 11-year warranty? Incredible batteries for the last 3 years that I have used them. Absolutely incredible. Great customer service, great people. We have what's this one? Mark just saying suggestions on a great long-lasting bait caster for muskie. Actually, Mark, I'll email you with that. There's a lot of great bait casters on the market. They have a 300 series in one of the reels that has a lower gear ratio that I like using for bucktails because it's built for both saltwater and freshwater. And if you go to the Cast King website, 300, and look for that one there. If not sure, I can email you later. But I actually have it on 2 of my musky rods now for cold water, so I can throw bucktails on it. It's a great, it's just a great reel. I've used it inshore, but I've also used it for musky fishing, especially for throwing the bigger bladed bucktails. It's a wide spool reel, phenomenal. So go check that out. If you want more info, I'll give it to you after the show, but you can easily use that Dakota lithium, that Cast King code to get 20% off of that. Great reel for bucktails, though. It really is. So otherwise than that, I want to thank you all for being on. What a great show. We've got some great guests coming up in November. We've got a couple really, I'm not going to tell you anything yet, but and then we really got a surprise for December. We've got some really cool stuff coming on Slickfish Radio. And so I am actually going to, I'll be telling you more of that. If you want to follow us along more, if it's your first time on the show, I will contact the winners from tonight. So give me a little bit right after the show here. I'll go on, I'll get your info. I will get you that power box. And Mark, I think, was on there. I will get you that new Jim Crowley Outdoors hat that we're giving out there. Please, if this is your first time, like us on Facebook, Jim Crowley Outdoors. Like us on Instagram, the same. You can check out our newly updated YouTube page on that. We are on Wired to Fish TV. My other show, Jim Crowley Outdoors, is on Wired to Fish Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. And as of December, just so you know, Wired to Fish is at its Sling TV. So any of you have Sling, you can watch all the shows on Wired to Fish, including my daily show, Monday through Friday, starting on Sling in December. So we'll be, there's like 10 stations now, but I know there's Plex, I know there's Distro, I know there's Sports Tribal, and we are going to be on Sling. That's going to be the biggest station by far so far that Wired to Fish, and that starts in December. But keep updated with us. If you want to find out more information, just go to jimcrowleyoutdoors.com and go to the page. Any questions, any comments, anything, please feel free to email me at any time. I answer all my own emails. If I miss something, I don't do it on purpose. I will always try to answer all your questions and all your emails because I'm very thankful that you took the time to ask them of me. God bless you all. Favorite verse of mine in the Bible, some people have asked me for that. It's Proverbs 3:5-6. If you want to know what it is, go check it out. God bless you. Until next time, thanks for watching.